The next segment, and this is productivity. So I chose to create these segments before we go into marketing strategies because I want you to put things into a perspective and not be overwhelmed with all of the marketing tasks. And if we can dial this piece in about productivity and how to refine and hone what we're focusing on, what we're creating, it'll be an easier process as you move forward. So productivity, in the book, The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, he outlines 3 different mindsets for running a business, and they are all very different. And we're going to go through each one. But the overview here is the story that he shares is a lady who makes incredible pies. And so the technician is that baker, the part that knows how to make the best pie, even if it's the best pie in the world, right? And so the technician is the part that knows how to do the skill, or the mindset that knows how to do the skill. And then her friends convince her, man, these pies are so amazing. They really are the best in the world. You should open a shop. You should open a bakery. And so the entrepreneur mindset shows up. Yes, I can create a business around it, and I can make my own schedule, and I can set my own hours. And then the manager is needed to manage all of this. So there's 3 different pieces to this. The technician, this is the part of you that knows how to do your craft, your talent, your skill. You might be very good at what you do. Your training and your background, your skill, you'll probably want to continue to hone and add to your skill, add to your knowledge base over time, especially if you are in the coaching profession, the education profession, or even any area that has ongoing information or ongoing updates. Especially, you'll want to stay on top of your field and the developments because that's your industry, right? And you are a representation of the expert. So staying on top of, staying up to date as the technician is like continuing education credits, reading articles about whatever it is that you do, hypnosis, chiropractic, acupuncture, being really clear, making regular time to go to the conventions to know about your field. So that comes from your industry, staying on top of it. Now the entrepreneur, this is the part that knows, that's that bright idea, I can make a business out of this, right? And this is the part of you that knows how to bring your product, your service to the marketplace and create that business. Usually the entrepreneur part of us is visionary, innovator, inventor. It can see possibilities. It says, it's kind of like, there's a thing that circulates in the business world that all you need to do in business is to build a better mousetrap. So that's the entrepreneur. We can see possibility. It's typically very creative. We're excited about new things. We want to invent things. We can see things differently. So what happens is we open up the shop, and then what happens? We have the day-to-day routines. Now this is very different from the entrepreneur mindset. That, oh, I want to open up the shop, I'm going to decorate, I'm going to, create this thing. And then if we're not getting our manager on board, or if we're not exercising the manager mindset, we can quickly get lost. We can quickly feel overwhelmed. The manager is the part that knows how to make systems and processes work efficiently. It's the routines, the scheduling, timelines, processes. It's detailed-oriented stuff. It's the admin. It's entering your profit and loss statements. It's the tracking in your business, the thing that the creative innovator type doesn't necessarily like to do. However, in some way, we need to make piece with a manager. We need to really bring that mindset forward to recognize the systems and processes that can help our business be easier so that we can do more of what we really enjoy doing, helping people, working with people. So keep in mind, the manager is a mindset and it can be learned, or it can be polished, or we can bring that aspect forward. Now, one way to look at this is to go through some planning. And the backwards planning is probably older than NLP, but it's used quite often in NLP circles because it gives us some clarity about seeing that end in mind. I'm sure backwards planning has been around forever. So it's the idea of working backwards. See that bigger picture. Where do you want to be in 2 years? And go ahead and let's give this some thought right now. So go ahead and you can close your eyes. You can sit back or connect with this for a moment. Imagine 2 years down the road. What will you be seeing? What will you be hearing? What will you be feeling as you're successful? What are the measures that let you know that you have achieved the results that you want to do? Maybe there's a project that you have completed. Maybe you have a certain number of people that are in your email list or that are subscribing in one way or another. Maybe you're speaking. I want you to really dial in that detail. Where are you and how do you feel as you're successful? And now back up on the timeline. Where would you like to be 1 year from now? And kind of get a visual of that. You can see it, hear it, feel it. You might even say it. I am successful because. And get a sense of that. Now your mind's going to take a snapshot of that. And then backing up to about 6 months and noticing, what are you doing 6 months from now? That helps you recognize you are on this path to this big vision. Maybe there are certain things to bring together, certain knowledge to learn, new skill sets. And then backing up again 3 months from now. And what are you seeing, hearing, saying 3 months from now? And then backing up all the way to present. So at the present and looking on into that future, and now your mind is recognizing the steps along the way. And you can see as you're imagining that future, looking down that future, there are a series of things that line up to get you to where you want to go. So the more that we can engage our expanded awareness to help us fill in those blanks, the easier it will be to recognize what those steps are to get us to where we want to be. So backwards planning is a really good exercise, and it's a NLP-ish exercise. Now you can also do this experientially, like adding a little bit more of the different processing of the brain by creating a timeline on the floor, and that point off in the future, mark it out on that timeline, and then mark these timelines on the floor in front of you. So that engages the spatial part of the brain. It also creates, adds to the experience of creating these things because your mind starts to map it. So that backwards planning exercise is on page 48. And give it some good reflection. Go through the process. Take about 20 minutes to really get into that experience. You want your mind to take a snapshot of these markers along the way. All right, so you can dial that further down into the different sections. Now, This is another piece, and we're expanding on that manager mindset, right? How do we put the pieces into place to keep things rolling? So you can also think of the manager as the maintainer. It's the part that continues to maintain what we're creating and to help us move forward in the process. So the power of the reoccurring schedule. Now you can see this juggler here on the right hand side of the screen, and he's got the lit fire and he's juggling them around and really having to pay attention. Now the thing is, running a business is a little bit like a juggling act, especially in the beginning. There are a lot of hats or roles that we need to play and switch between. But the more that we can dial in what we do on a consistent basis, the easier it is going to be. It's going to be the more that you can create habits. So I see this with my clients too. If you can create a habit of something, it's going to last you. It's going to be there working for you day in and day out. Probably 90% of what we do every day is habit. Our routine is an obvious habit. The foods that we eat are often habits. The thoughts that we think are habit. Our language is habit. Our relationships are habit. So if we instead use all of that power to be really intentional, really clear with the habits that support our success. In fact, I teach this quite often in healthy lifestyle classes, that healthy weight, healthy body, think of it as a collection of habits. Well, the same is true for successful people. Success in life and business is a collection of habits. So dial those in. What are the ones that really support you? Is it staying organized? Is it doing your calls, your emails at a certain time? And we'll kind of dial this in a little bit more. Now, consistency. Consistency is also a really important key in running your business. The more you can be consistent, the more that you're creating things regularly on an ongoing basis. For example, sending out a newsletter and staying in touch with your clients. And the reason why it's important is because people are seeing that you're consistent. And in that consistency, they're also perceiving that you are a professional and that you take your business seriously. So they're also learning or recognizing that they can trust you as a professional. And people buy from people they know, like, and trust. So consistency is really an important piece. And the other piece, of course, is that you can keep the ball rolling. So there are some, especially in service-based industry, what happens is people go through these big up and down cycles because people start marketing, they don't have any clients, so they start marketing, and what happens, they start to get clients, and they have a big bunch of clients, and now they have no time left for marketing. So what happens, these clients graduate, and then they're back to that baseline. I don't have any clients. I don't know how to get clients. So then they go back to marketing, get the business, and then they go up on another up cycle. Oh, wow, I'm so busy, even overwhelmed. And then those clients transfer off their program. So if you can, the more you can create automatic things that you're doing consistently, the more you can even out those peaks and valleys and create that sustainable business that supports you. So this is a really important piece of creating a reoccurring schedule, reoccurring. So here's a piece, time blocking, a couple of places that it comes from. One is Stephen Covey's book. He mentions this in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He outlines a strategy for scheduling. And in his analogy, he says, you know, you've got a big jar, and I think he mentioned it was a professor that was making a point about scheduling, and he brought up this tray with a big glass jar and a bunch of big rocks and a container of pebbles and then a container of sand and then a container of water. And he says, okay, I want someone to make all of this fit in the same box, in the same jar. So he had students coming up and they're putting the water in first and the sand in first and the pebbles and then trying to fit the rocks on top, and it doesn't fit. And the point of this demonstration was that you only have so much time in your schedule. That's like your glass container. It is a little bit rigid. We have to eat, we have to sleep, and do other things. So in a work day, we have we do have a set number of hours. So the big rocks are the things that are most important. These are things that add to your bigger vision. These are the kind of the long-term chunks that you want to get done over time. And those are the things that you put in first. You create time for those. So create time for those things that are most important. And plan around them. And then your pebbles are like your maintenance. Now your pebbles might also be things like client care, sending thank you notes, or following up with people. So the things that maintain your practice, you're putting those in kind of in those spaces. There is time given for them, but they can also fill in the spaces between the big rocks. And then the sand, this could also represent maintenance activities, the things that keep ease in your business, things like processes, systems, things that create the ease. And then finally the water goes in the top and fills in all of the spaces in between. And that way you create a very efficient schedule. So the point of this, of course, is to keep in mind that the things that are most important, plan those first. Make time for them first. And putting it into your schedule is one of the keys to making it work. So another really important point here, keep a schedule and stick to it. I'm kind of surprised sometimes when I hear people who don't have a schedule. So thinking of the hours that you want to work with clients, where does that fit in your schedule? Maybe you don't have clients yet, or you don't have clients that you need to plan around, but if you give them set times in your schedule, I'm going to see clients Tuesday from 1 to 5. If you have that time set aside, your mind, your unconscious, will help you in the process of filling it and creating it. You need to create a place for things to go, just like you need to open a checking account for your business funds to go. In your schedule, you need to create place for clients to go. Now, time blocking is also mentioned in Timothy Ferriss's book, The 4-Hour Workweek. And it doesn't apply, 4-hour work week really only applies to product-based businesses. But there's some concepts that I really liked from it. And one is this idea, if you're switching between tasks all day, 1, it's very inefficient on the brain. 2, it tires us out, causes fatigue and burnout. And so the more that you can create chunks of time to get things done, the more efficient you'll be, and the more you can fit those big rocks into your schedule. So really think about this concept. What are the big rocks to put in your schedule? Maybe that's times for clients. What are the pebbles? Maybe that's the marketing. Maybe it's also following up with clients or following up with leads. And then think about what are the tasks that need to be done, on an ongoing basis. And Timothy Ferriss also talks about batching. So if you can, instead of answering emails all day when they come in, create a little time chunk in the morning that you answer emails and a little time chunk in the afternoon. And don't look at email the other times. Now, this is also useful for social media. How many of us have gotten on Facebook or Instagram or something and, oh, I'm just gonna spend a few minutes, and an hour later, 2 hours later, we're still, going through posts or reading people's stories. So yes, participate, but give yourself chunks to do that. And so this is a good way to define and keep your schedule. Now, the other planning tool that I've included in today is the business balance wheel. The business balance wheel, you can see this in your packet on page 51 and 52. And when I create the business balance wheel, I always put that center is you. How you are running and you are operating is key to how everything else works in your business and in your personal life. So by making sure that you're caring for yourself, giving yourself set hours that you're on working in your business, and give yourself set hours that you're off, that you have time for friends and family, that you have time for the things that are important in really living a balanced life. So you is priority. Running a business can be a little bit like running a marathon. You need to pace yourself. You need to have support along the way, whether that's self-support or taking care of yourself as you go. So the business balance wheel, you can use this kind of as a diagnostic, looking for areas that need some attention, for areas that are not operating as well as you would like. You can also look to identify your priorities. What are the ones that really do need attention? Now, you'll find those pages in your packet on page 51 and 52. And one way to use this is to go around the circle and rate each area, scale of 1 to 10, with how satisfied you feel about that area of your business. So you can see on this picture, marketing is twice the size of any of these other designations. And that's because marketing is probably your most important. You need to take time, money, resources. There's lots of different ways to market your business, but really marking out time in your calendar on a consistent basis to do your marketing, to stay in touch with your clients, to get the word out about what you do, and to do those things. So sometimes people, when they do business, they get really caught up in the admin stuff, the logistics admin section, where you really need to balance your time in marketing and sales. And actually, marketing and sales is the lifeblood of your business. So that's where you'll want to be spending most of your time, especially at first, until you get your systems in place that then make that easier for you. Okay, so that will also be part of our homework this time, is to go through that business balance wheel. And then there's another format of this. So once you've done the business balance wheel, this is on page 53, you can see there's just the spreadsheet there, designations for taking notes on this business monthly map. So as you go around the 6 areas, the first one, rate it 1 to 10, how satisfied are you? The next question is asking, what would bring it to a 10? What would make it a 10? And that's an easy way to help you identify those plans, the goal that you want to bring into your business and create. So I like to fill out one of these business monthly maps every month, looking at the 6 areas of business, looking at what am I doing in each area, and also looking at, what is a recurring thing versus what are new projects. So the more you can dial in that recurring schedule so that you have this maintenance that's, you're juggling these fire sticks along the way. Let's not make them fire sticks, but you're juggling these pieces of business along the way. What are the things that help support that on that ongoing basis. So being clear with that. Now, next webinar, we're going to talk about marketing strategies, and then we'll start dialing in marketing strategies to create a marketing plan, something that's easy that you continue to do on a consistent basis, because that consistency, remember, is key. Okay, your homework. So this week, here we got a little Superman hatching out of the egg. You are hatching your inner superhero. You can do this. And it's steps along the way. There's a process along the way. So this week, get a scheduler or a planner if you don't have one. We can even post some ideas about some of the best ones. I use a combination of a written calendar and also a Google Calendar. I just need to make sure that they're updated. Google is a great resource. It can do several things for you. Storing documents, it can do planning, it can also keep contacts or keep your people in your system. So go through the business balance wheel, identify what is working now, what would you like to change or improve, create a plan for the month. So maybe you already have some ideas to dial in on that plan. And to post in our Facebook group, Brain Training for Business, share your higher why. If you feel comfortable, love to have you share that. And the other thing I want you to post there is share your client hours, your work hours, and your time off. So why are they a little different? Client hours are the hours you set aside to work with clients. If you're not creating these time slots, what happens is people are going to ask you all sorts of crazy hours. Will you come in on Sunday? Will you come in on the weekend? And then you're so accommodating that you're not taking time for you. So dial it in. Yes, you can be flexible. I move things around sometimes for people if we need to. But also having clear client hours, it makes my scheduling much more efficient. And then also looking at your work hours. Now, what's going to be in your work hours are things like marketing, admin, customer care, follow-up. You might even need times to call and check in with clients. There's only certain times they're going to be available. And then finally, your time off hours. When are you going to take time off? When are you going to take some breaks? Okay, so this wraps up our section for the webinar tonight. And now we're going to move into, I'll do a little bit of debrief, and then we'll move into the hypnosis portion.